Hello and welcome to another episode of The Prototype. This is our Summer Game Fest coverage day. I don't know, it's all become a blur, but this is going to be our discussion of the official Summer Games Fest show. And we got the whole crew here together today. It's Alex, the producer, obviously. We've got Ken and
Mike.
a very burnt out Birdman right now.
Yeah.
Which I can say I'm also burnt out. Different reasons, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, we are. I am currently on a heavy regimen of antibiotics for a variety of health reasons right now, but I am healing on the bonus side, and hopefully I'll be good. So expect a lower energy Birdman in this episode, but I'll do my best to chime in with some of the coverage. I've been following some stuff from the sidelines this year. I was really hoping this would be the year I'd get into Games Fest and be all yay happy fun time like we used to be when TWIG started out back in 2007. But I'm just going to give you a preview of our Switch coverage. This is the most cursed launch I've ever dealt with. And every time I look at that red Switch box, I get a seething ball of red anger rage. I am so annoyed. There's stuff, Alex, I haven't even told you yet. Well, I've just dealt with. But anyway,
we can say for we are going to be doing a proper episode on our Switch 2 launch impressions and also our Switch 2 launch experiences in getting the console. That is going to be a very fun, interesting, ridiculous discussion.
Cathartic.
Mine involves the walking embodiment of Gen Z skibbity bullshit.
Mine involves a credit card company, no launch games, and wanting to reach across a parking lot and to reach out and strangle someone. So I've had a delightful experience, you might say.
Mine just involves people not getting the shit that they're supposed to.
You got off easy.
That's
I know.
Mine involved me trying to convince somebody to walk out into traffic. So
definitely customer facing.
Yes, so that's a preview of something to come later on in the week. But as it stands now, my note I have for Nintendo and any other game company is don't release your goddamn console during the largest trade show week in your industry.
Yeah, you are an asshole for doing this. There is no polite way to say this. You are an ass.
There is no way Nintendo would didn't know. This has been
they knew.
This week has been the E3 week for 30 years. And then it was the SGF week the last 5 years. And they had pushed things around on their schedules for years. They could have easily launched this the second or third week of June, like after SGF. But no, right smack dab in the middle of all the coverage. But yes, anyway, instead of discussing multiple shows that we usually do in one of these, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter coverage episode in that it is the main Jeff Fest show, whatever you want to call it, because there was Day of the Devs after. I don't believe they showed anything completely new. It was more of a highlight thing. As well, they usually did a Devolver Digital showcase, which usually is pretty fun. They had a kind of a fun trailer for it, but it was just one game, which is a little concerning to me that Devolver didn't have 5 or 6 games to show like they usually do. So either one, they've got problems in their I guess production pipeline, or two, maybe they've got other strange issues going on.
Maybe they just have a bunch of stuff in development right now. Maybe the pandemic put a production dent into 2025,
or maybe
we're seeing the result. We're starting to see the lull that was the pandemic and the confusion.
Or perhaps an orange orangutan man's taxes have hit issues with production pipelines for multiple indie companies. So there's that, and the game, I'll just mention it now. It's a breakout sort of game that also has town building and roguelike elements. Whatever.
Okay, sure.
it could be interesting.
It'll probably be cool because it is Devolver. They don't often publish garbage, so
no. And if they publish garbage, it's usually like really good steaming hot garbage.
Yeah, it's fun garbage.
And then also IO Interactive, so the Hitman people had their own showcase after, and it was so boring. It was because
I saw how long it was. I was just like, well, never mind.
They had 3 games to show off. It was Hitman getting some updates, which we actually do have a copy of Hitman for Nintendo Switch 2 to check out. I reviewed the version on consoles a little while back, so I'll see how it compares. But don't expect a full review for pretty much anything that is just a port to Switch to. It's going to be like, how does it play? Is it okay? Does it look as good as the previous console generations?
Is it fast? How does it load? Is there any little tweaks?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's generally what any of the ports are going to be for us coverage. Like unless they add new content completely for that edition, we won't be doing full reviews of those games. Anyway, it was that the 007 game, which looks looking
cool.
awesome.
It looks like a good James Bond game.
And Mind's Eye, which releases in like 3 days, and that's
is getting really bad press.
Yeah, well, because they still haven't let press have hands on. The demonstrations that they did had major graphical errors and issues in it, to the point where people are saying that the game is probably like 2 years away from being released, even though it's coming out in 3 days. And it's from the game director and creator is the guy that was the game director of all of the GTA games up until 6. Like, he left it after 5 came out. So it's like a really good game director, and then you're hearing like horror stories of what it's like to work for this company making this game, which is, and then you see the gameplay that they showed, and it's basically, I'm like, okay, so it's a third-person, over-the-shoulder action shooter with some GTA driving elements, a la 15 years ago, which is what you'd expect. Like you're not showing me why this game is worth $80 or more. And it also still doesn't look like it's done. How are you releasing this game physically in 3 days when not a single person has had hands-on with it?
Yeah, like I've been kind of looking at this from a distance, like from the storyline perspective, and it seems so
generic.
Bland. Yeah, like it's super fucking bland. And if you're gonna have such high, someone who comes from a fairly high background, who knows how to direct a game, knows how to give you that world that feels like very lived in, very visceral, you need to have a good story you're going to want to explore, a world that you give a shit about. This is not that.
Yeah, so I mean, again, we won't know till we actually play it, or if we do, but like
I'm not going to be watching my inbox for a review code. That's
if we get an opportunity to check it, of course we will. We're trying to go into it unbiased, but it doesn't instill confidence right now. It's still kind of looking like not a money laundering scheme, but it's looking like they're trying to advertise the engine and ecosystem for IOI because it's being run by their backend or something. And it's like, it's almost like it's like a recruitment tool to show what you can do with their engine, and not that it's actually a proper full game. I kind of get the feeling that the game is only going to be like 3 to 5 hours long, or maybe even maybe 6 hours long. And then you'll have almost nothing to do, because it's like, here's an introduction to what we can do. And this is why the game is only $79 Canadian when every other AAA game is $100 now. Like, I could be wrong. If it's like a really good game and it's worth the money, great. But they still haven't done really anything to show that it's worth money.
Yeah, like I've seen zero advertising, zero press, zero. Anybody who's in the gaming space who covers stuff like this, I've heard nothing out of. And if I'm not hearing it covered by okay, here's a good kind of read for people our age for game. If it's not being covered by Inside Games, like the former crew out of Funhouse, that's a pretty good litmus test for me. If they don't care, that says something.
If IGN doesn't care, and IGN it usually gets money to show off everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that the only buzz we've been hearing about it is that it doesn't look impressive, and there's major like glitches and errors.
Mm-hmm.
We've only been hearing negative buzz.
Yeah, exactly.
And basically it's coasting right now on the reputation of its creator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And that's pretty much all the other stuff that happened at Summer Games Fest. But what, the actual main show, I would say even before going into it, it was a B tier showcase.
Yeah.
I would say that State of Play was a B plus. So it's the first time in a long time that the Sony showcase was better. I'm kind of expecting, even though like temper your expectations, I'm kind of expecting Xbox to be better than both.
Well, I think a lot of things have to be kind of taken into consideration, especially like Nintendo literally launched a console hours ago when you break it down realistically. So a lot of air in the room is being taken up by that. But you also have to measure that as well. Like there's a new console in the air, but it only has Mario Kart. So the room is very filled with conversation and excitement, except somebody let a fart in the room and someone's trying to wave potpourri at the same time.
Yeah,
And
there
what I
is
mean
good
by that
stuff to
is
be found.
it's a very confusing space to be in right now. And I think that very much kind of is how I'm approaching this year. And it's not old man Ashkwi yells at cloud, but that's kind of how I'm feeling. Like, you're right. Like the State of Play, I saw maybe 2, maybe 3 things I give a shit about. Definitely one thing, but everything else is like, it was fine. And this year's like Summer Games Fest, again, this is Jeff doing a acceptable book report he did on the weekend, but not the night before. Do you get what I mean by that? It's competent, but it's not as good as it could be.
And the noticeable thing here was it ran very smoothly. It ran on time. He didn't have any stupid kids coming up and disrupting this presentation. There wasn't any cringe moment from a celebrity that shouldn't be there, a la having the senior citizens go up and lose their train of thought mid discussion. There was none of that stuff. So it was, in that aspect, maybe we didn't notice those things because it was smooth. You know what I mean? Like in the past, we've almost been like waiting for the cringe to happen, and he didn't really have anything. There wasn't even any cringe jokes, really. So
you know what this was, Alex? This was going up to McDonald's and ordering a Big Mac meal. And what I mean by that is you got your fries, you got your Big Mac, you got your drink, you were in and you were out, and there was nothing wrong.
Yeah,
that's all it just was.
Where what we were expecting was, maybe McDonald's is going to have like a lobster roll. Which is
it's June. You're expecting something special.
Yeah, you know what? I think what we were all hoping for was the McRib to come back, and it didn't.
Yeah. We're hey. Yeah, sorry, Kate, go ahead.
But like the one thing I will say that was blatantly obvious is Epic spent a fuck ton of money on SGF.
Yeah, most of
the commercials were Epic.
Well, it's because now they don't have to worry about the like Apple Store thing because they won their lawsuit with them, which if we had a regular show we would have talked about. But to spend 3 seconds on that, Epic, they're going to do their victory lap. They've got lots of crossovers going on. Epic's going to be really good for the next little while, so why not saturate the market and soak it up a little bit? So, that makes sense to me.
Most of the ads were for them. There weren't as many ads for like the Korean or Chinese games this year.
Yeah, there was like 2. There was the Withering Waves, and then there was one Hoyo.
Yeah. So I guess we'll sort of just get into it.
But I will say there was a bunch of MMO bullshit.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask, was there like a Genshin Impact ad this year? I don't remember.
Not for Genshin itself, but for one of the other ones.
It was not Genshin entirely. It was just the entire Hoyo verse.
Okay, so something adjacent to that. Okay.
Yeah, their blanket thing for all of their games is like, hey, we exist and we're still making money. Remember us? Yes,
Hey.
yeah.
We make more
but
money
yeah.
than God.
So I'll just I'll
Enjoyable,
skim
right?
through the things that might be interesting to people. Like we'll go through it, and then we'll talk about the things that maybe piqued our interest personally. They
Yeah.
showed off, what was it, Mortal Shell 2. Was not a fan of. I'm not a fan of usually that style of game. I know a lot of people didn't like the first game, so maybe this will be better.
The first game was a lot emptier. And
Okay,
I
so
think that was the problem.
So maybe the first game was more of a tech demo, and this is like, hey, we've got a real game here.
Yeah, kind of. At least that's from what I saw.
Yeah, Death Stranding 2. At least he brought
it's
Kojima
Death Stranding
out
2.
early.
You know what you're getting.
Well, you know that you don't know what you're getting, and that's
exactly. Exactly.
And I will say this: you could see on Jeff's face he was trying to hide the fact that nobody was clapping.
Yeah,
there really isn't the interest for the game that I think Kojima or Sony think it's going to have.
Well, one of the things with like Death Stranding, and this comes from a very interesting conversation I had with one of the former Terrible Warriors, Justin and I were talking, and he said to me, Death Stranding is a cozy game. And I got to say,
yes.
Are we thinking about the same game where you fight weird shit and do whatever? He's like, yeah, but think about it, Mike. It's a mailman game. I'm thinking, okay, I'm listening. And he gave a fairly decent thesis on this. I'm thinking, you're right. And when you look at how Kojima and Keighley want everyone to come into this experience, not everybody's into your special interest game. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's super niche. It's super niche, but on a wide platform. It's like, what if crocheting took out an advertisement at the NBA finals, right? You're going to get some people that are fucking excited for that shit, but you don't advertise crocheting at the NBA finals.
If he's not making stealth action, people aren't interested in the wider audience.
Yeah, like it's not anything interesting. Now, if Kojima had came out and said, just walked up to Jeff and went, Snatcher 2026 and walked off stage, that entire room, we would hear it from here in Guelph.
If he came out and they said, oh, you've got Death Stranding 2 coming, and by the way, we know you've got a special presentation later on tonight or later on in the weekend, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, yes. And they're like, so at least not. So hold out for that. Here's a tease, and they could have shown like 2 seconds of somebody talking, but actually, what we have you out here to talk about is some other stuff, and then they could have just shown that like.
And he's gonna, and Xbox is gonna cart him out on Sunday.
Probably, because Death Stranding is like the last major show anyway, right? Like they purposely put it on a day that didn't have any other major ones.
Yeah.
So they could have then shown a thing. You wanted to make the crowd go crazy. You could have shown him out there, and he could have pointed at the screen, and the Konami logo could have come up, and people would have been like, "How the fuck is Konami talking to him?" And then it could have shown that like Police Knots and Snatcher were getting remastered.
Yeah,
and that he, even though he's not on okay terms with him, but it's like, Kojima director's cut or something.
Yeah, like they're like our options. By the way, we are like, obviously Ken and Alex have examined this way more in depth than me, but I do want to send a shout out to Eurogamer because that's kind of how we're looking through some of these notes for this. But they do a really
we've got our own notes, but they have a really good chronological
summary
list.
Yeah, because like it's one thing I've noticed about the Summer Games Fest, and it's something that, Alex, that you mentioned to me specifically. Watch how Jeff's enthusiasm goes up and down during the show, and that's how you kind of get a good read for the entire weekend. Jeff, in my opinion, I've met Jeff like twice, maybe 3 times in my life, and I feel that's a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. You know when he's being real with you, when he's not.
He tries his best to be neutral, but you can see when he gets nervous, and he got nervous that nobody was clapping for this.
Yeah, and that says something, because this is a guy, all of us have made fun of Jeff at some point, for whatever reason, whatever, that's not the point.
Well,
the point I'm trying to make here
gentle ribbing is more like it.
Yes,
it's
gentle ribbing.
He loves
Pope is a joke for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people love this industry, and to see him not receive the expectation that he wanted from Death Stranding, I kind of get the conversation after him and Kojima had got off stage might have gone along the lines of like, hey man, I'm sorry that like didn't go better. That genuine, I'm sorry your latest single didn't hit the way that you wanted it to, sort of vibe.
People aren't like, if you look at Amazon, Death Stranding isn't on the list of most pre-ordered.
Yeah,
and that
I'm not
surprised. That should be
Look,
scaring Sony.
However, Sony doesn't technically own Death Stranding anymore. They sold it back to Kojima.
Yeah, but they're the ones footing the bill for the marketing.
Yeah,
they're
like,
footing the bill for the marketing, but that's about it.
Yeah, like it should be bigger. It's not. Like I said, it's like you're advertising the most niche thing on the biggest market on the planet, and no one cares.
Yeah, because Death Stranding 1 was kind of like a super niche. It was Kojima Unbound, and Kojima Unbound results in really weird shit.
Really weird shit with a really beautiful engine that is incredibly surprising that it ran on PS5.
It's the Horizon engine.
Yeah, the Fox engine is like a highly optimized Decima engine fork, right, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is the Horizon engine that is running Death Stranding and Death Stranding 2.
One of the other things that was shown off not too long after this, again, through the chronological order, was the Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Again, obviously, Sega's answer to Mario Kart. I think this is pretty cool. Did not expect the crossover characters. Hatsu Miku, okay, cool. Kind of neat. The guy from Yakuza, again, kind of neat. Did not expect Persona's Joker. Like, the second I heard the music hit, I was like, oh.
Like, I think Yakuza Like a Dragon makes sense because there's the Dragon Kart racing minigames. So, So there's that.
It's very... Ichiban coming, Joker coming. Joker's a bit of a surprise. Miku's a bit of a surprise.
Morgana should have been in there, I think.
Well,
but I
what's
think
funny
Joker's
is
more recognizable.
There's leaks like of actual screenshots. I mean, again, we can't say confirm it because we haven't seen it, but the press online is going nuts that they didn't announce what was shown in the leaks. The leaks showed that they apparently have a partnership with Nickelodeon to have like the Ninja Turtles and stuff in it.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean,
what version?
The ones from the newest cartoon movies.
Mutants in Manhattan, was it?
Mutant Mayhem.
The ones that the one that Rogan wrote.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
But apparently it's
but they did
all Nicktoons apparently, and Paramount properties.
But they did announce that they have a Minecraft cross partnership as well.
So the Cross Worlds is not just marketing for cross Sony, cross Sega. It's supposed to be cross media. So this is like their answer to Smash or something, I guess, in putting it all together.
All right,
yeah,
sure.
so basically it's Smash Mario Kart.
But again, they haven't announced yet. So for all we know, maybe at the Xbox show, they're going to show off more.
Maybe at Xbox, maybe at Gamescom.
Yeah, because and again, like this isn't like just blowing smoke like rumors. There's actual screenshots and stuff of it. So
honestly, if like Master Chief shows up in like a Warthog or Cortana shows up on like a Mongoose, I'd be all right.
I would not be surprised. You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Banjo shows up. And
That'd be really
That
fun.
would be hilarious.
Banjo showing up in a kart racer and it's not Mario Kart.
Conquer, that could be fun too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I mean, there's things that can be done. We don't know yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We also think that at Xbox, they're finally going to show off more an actual gameplay of the Sega revivals like Crazy Taxi and all that, but we won't know until tomorrow.
Okay.
So I think it's interesting that some of the most exciting games of this year are arcade racing games, and that both Sonic has a Worlds game and Mario has a World game. So just a little funny thing there. Code Vein 2, I didn't include in our thing because I don't think any of us are interested in playing it.
I mean,
you know what?
I pegged it as Code Vein within the first couple of seconds.
Code Vein has
hilarious.
Code Vein has a very distinctive art style, and the only reason I know anything remotely about Code Vein, it had a G Fuel flavor, which wasn't bad. Other than that, I so don't care.
Yeah, like it could be, and the thing is, it's not a matter of us being like, we're dismissing it. It's if I don't remember playing the first one, and it's not my kind of game. I'm not a Souls game player. If the game turns out to have really good buzz, of course we'll check them out. And if they're great, we'll tell them that's great.
The first one was okay as a Souls game. It wasn't amazing, and I think it needed some improvements. If this proves on the first one, then it's going to be a killer game.
What I remember most from the first one was everybody talking about, well, this will do because we can't get a new Bloodborne.
Yeah, basically.
End of Abyss. I didn't include that in my list initially, but I went back and rewatched it. It looks interesting. That's the
gives me Little Nightmares vibes.
And that's the Epic Games one. That was like the first thing that they show where like it was like a big. I think they're publishing it exclusively, like they're on their store, but they're handling publishing, I believe, on PS5 and Xbox as well.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like alien-y cosmic horror underwater stuff. And the logo was interesting. Like the actual text and font was the same as James Cameron's The Abyss. Like exactly the same font.
I was about to say, it's very abyssy, Deep Star 6 sort of thing. Yeah.
Mouse PI for Hire. That's not a new thing. We've known about it, and it's been on my radar, and I've actually requested a review copy when it comes out. But the big announcement was that the main character is now voiced by Troy Baker.
Yeah, so there we go. So now Joel from The Last of Us is now...
And it doesn't sound very Troy. To be
honest. He's doing a good job.
A good voice.
Yeah. Not that he doesn't always, you know what I mean? Like, he's making it...
We get that he doesn't sound like Troy Baker.
Yeah, he's doing his best. He's doing his best 1930s voice, and it's surprisingly immersive.
Yes.
Game of Thrones game. Nobody was going to want that. Sorry, skipping.
And the only thing I want to say about the Game of Thrones stuff is it's really disappointing because I think the IP can be done well. I know there was like a Telltale game that came out years ago, and it was fine.
Good.
Yeah, like it's fine. But it's like for something like this, for something that should be about the scale of commanding the armies of the North or the Dothraki and all this other crazy shit. My wife's doing a watch through of the series right now, so I'm hearing, bits and pieces here and there. This should be something that should be amazing. I'm not saying it's going to be the next fucking StarCraft or, Civilization or whatever, but this IP has been treated so poorly in the media or in the realm of video games. It really blows my mind. It would have...
Yeah.
A Game of Thrones IP or a Game of Thrones game should be more like War for Middle Earth with like the Nemesis system and like, hey, you're going to go fight this house. And now...
And what's more frustrating is like Warner Brothers, you own this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Use it.
Yeah, for fuck's sakes, guys.
Also, think about this. How many years it's been? They had to pay to get the likenesses of the people again.
Yeah.
And they had to pay all this money, and then they didn't show the fucking game at all. It was all the cutscenes.
Yeah,
and it's like
that's
people,
not good.
People are going to think, oh, great, it's like The Witcher. No, it's an RTS. And all the people that have played the beta have said it's terrible. There are people that have actually broken NDAs that didn't care and said it was not good.
Terrible.
So that's not great. Atomic Heart 2. Atomic Heart 2 looks like a much more polished version of Atomic Heart 1, which I had to stop playing because my save file got corrupted when I tried to use a vending machine in the game where you buy stuff from, and it crashed and deleted my save, and it didn't even work on the cloud. And I went, fuck you, crazy-ass Russian game.
So you were flipped over by... so let me get this straight, Alex. You were defeated by a bag of Skittles.
Yeah, the game...
Nice.
I was not even... I was in the first level or first area. I played about an hour, explored, did the main mission stuff. It was very exciting, very immersive, really a neat thing. And then it's like, hey, defeat this boss, which was like a rogue AI in the vending machine. I did that, killed it. And then it goes, now, here's the tutorial on how to use the vending machine to buy weapons and upgrades. Okay, I go to access it. Screen freezes, hard crashes the Xbox, not like in its own environment. I had to unplug it from the wall.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even have to do that with Cyberpunk. And then I plug it back in, turn it on, save file gone, no save file in the cloud. Fuck you, I'm not risking my system over your garbage.
Yeah, not worth it.
And I was probably an outlier case, but I'm like, no, I'm not trusting you. Like, it's probably been patched by now. But Atomic Heart 2, it looks cool. I don't think I'm going to play it because I don't know if I can trust it. What's
the
more
AI
interesting, though,
knows.
Yeah, what's more interesting is the cube. That's the MMO game made by the same people in the world. The idea that the cube is constantly shifting, it's basically like a Rubik's Cube. And every time it shifts and moves, it changes the terrain, changes the gameplay, changes it's like an ever-evolving MMO, which I think looks better than an extraction shooter, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But again, interesting and weird. Now we're getting to the stuff that we actually really care about, and that is something a little more homegrown, a little more. I think Tribute is in Montreal or around there, and that is Marvel Cosmic Invasion, and they showed off 2 new characters. I think they've got 5 more
7
characters
so far?
to show. Yeah. Or 8. I guess they got 6 more to show off. I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and so it was Rocket Raccoon, and they showed off. She-Hulk, and the first thing I said when I saw it, I said out loud, I'm like, oh no, the memes are going to start with all the muscle mommy stuff.
Yeah.
And then my second comment was, damn, she thick. I mean, it's looking fun. I have a feeling, it says it's coming out this holiday, where we might see another, I don't think they would reveal 2 more characters at Xbox, but I'm going to assume that we get, either at a State of Play in September or probably Gamescom and maybe even TGS, there'll be 2 more characters probably revealed by the end of summer, and then that'll leave. I don't know why they would leave 4, so it could be
Comic-Con. You'll get something at Comic-Con.
Yeah, so probably 2 at Comic-Con, and then 2 at Gamescom, and then they'll have maybe they'll have a final trailer that shows the last 2 a month or 2 before release.
And you'll see something for DLC 1 that'll show 3 new heroes and a villain emerge from the shadows, and it'll be sort of like lightning strikes. You'll see the outline of them, and my guess is it'll be something like fucking Moon Knight and Ghost Rider or something.
Or is there a tie-in to show something for the Fantastic Four movie?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. My guess is, if there was going to be a DLC themed pack, because they're not going to waste 4 heroes as a big slot. So they'll be theme pack 1 DLC will be the Fantastic Four, and you'll get the skins from the MCU, and maybe Herbie as an assist character or something. So that's entirely possible.
So again, that's obviously, there's not much more we can say other than
it looks cool.
I think at this point we can pretty much fully trust whatever Tribute puts out.
Yeah, they haven't made a bad game yet, and those games are very nice because they have a very high replay value. Yeah, you're playing the same levels and over and over again, but it's fantastic gameplay loop. There's lots of shit hidden, great soundtracks. The sprites look outstanding. Yeah, it's one of those games. You're right, Alex. This is a company you can just okay, here's my car keys. Bring it home with a full tank of gas. You can trust.
After they're done with Marvel, I'd like to see them work with Warner and DC and do a DC one.
Yeah, or trust them with another retro IP. I don't know. We already have a G.I. Joe game. We already have a Power Rangers game. Hey, why don't you try Thundercats? Why don't you try He-Man? Maybe another Dungeons and Dragons brawler like Capcom did back in the day. A Transformers one people have asked for.
Yeah, I would say He-Man is more likely to happen because they've got the movie next year.
Well, do you want to know something interesting? Did you know there's never been a single He-Man video game?
There has been.
Really?
There has been one on the 2600. There was one on the Commodore 64. As far as large commercial releases when it comes to the NES, Super Nintendo, basically all the major North American consoles, nothing significant of any value.
Okay, I didn't know about the Atari. I thought that there was just one on a tape cassette on 8-bit European computers.
Oh yeah, anything we have seen over here on these shores, hot trash. In terms of anything that looks good, nah. I think there was talk of one that was based on the 1991, The New Adventures of He-Man, but I don't know whether it was fully finished. So again, I may be misremembering from a concussion, but
if they had done that, it probably would have been like the Pirates of Dark Water games. It would have been one of those kind of beat 'em ups.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing super significant.
Onimusha, Way of the Sword, world premiere trailer aired. I don't have much to say on it because it looks good. I think
the game's coming out next year. The game's coming out next year. We'll see more at Gamescom.
Yeah, and probably at the I have a feeling that's something that we will see at the there's
Jeff
always like a
Bezos
state
show?
of
Jeff.
either that or how like there's always a state of play in January or February. It'll probably be there,
Oh,
and
for
then
sure.
it'll be like
Yeah.
Sure.
and they're gonna
we'll
want
get the
that out.
date.
They're gonna want that out either a month before or 2 months after GTA because it's too big of a title. Felt that boxing looks awesome.
This is something I literally I was just coming in from running some errands, and I threw this on in the background. I thought this was a trailer for a movie.
This is all running on Unreal, by the way.
Yeah, like this looks phenomenal. Like, to give you a very high level overview of this is like, what if like Elmo was Rocky Balboa and literally you have puppets punching each other?
It's Puppet Punch Out.
Yeah,
R-rated Muppet Punch Out.
Yeah, and
like sort of like what was that really bad Melissa McCarthy movie?
Happy Time Murders?
Yeah. What if that was a boxing spoof of Super Punch Out?
Yeah, like, and it's vulgar, it's fucked up. Like, the guy's talking about taking in like a upper decker in his toilet and burnt toast, and it's so bizarre humor that it just sells it. Like, ultimately, now they've only talked about it coming to Steam. They would be foolish to not bring this to consoles. My guess is this is going to end up on VR real fucking fast. But still, this looks phenomenal. Please put this out on consoles. This looks awesome. I can't believe this hasn't already existed in some capacity, but I'm glad it's happening now because the technology is there for something this ridiculous to have it work.
Because it's kept to a very small play area, and they're not rendering like really any backgrounds other than maybe crowds or whatever. They can really tune in and focus on making it look super realistic without it like killing the performance.
Yeah, because like half of the thing about stuff that's done with Muppet and Puppet, it's texture. It has to move and feel a certain way. It can't move like Little Mac does in Punch Out because it's just not natural. But when you see how this thing moves in its trailer, you buy it because you've seen the Muppet movies. You know how those puppets move. You see their sticks arms move, and you're like, okay.
What was most impressive to me was when it looked like there was a fan blowing and you could see the fur moving.
Yeah, like it looks outstanding. I did not. This was one of the biggest surprises for me.
Oh yeah, I was sitting there going, "Whoa!" I would say we can skip the next whole bunch of things because most of it.
So I'm just gonna highlight Killer In because I have a streamer that I watch who does a lot of these deception games, and this looks like a fun time to watch. This looks like a fun game to watch.
It's sort of like Clue meets Among Us.
It's Clue Among Us.
I believe this is like the last title that Square had invested in. Of third party before, like when they were publishing. The fact that Square didn't announce it themselves, it tells me they're very tepid on if it's going to be performing well or not.
Yeah,
it's going to live and die on streams.
Yeah, so outside of that, the other stuff is stuff that was either not new.
There was something that I saw, and I just want to bring it like 30 seconds to it. And it was called Fractured Blooms. And it's a game that it caught my attention because the music, it's very wholesome. But again, I'm getting out of my wheelchair. I'm getting into, my position in my house, and I'm paying attention as I'm transferring, and I keep looking up, and you get this wonderful, wholesome, go out to your garden, tend your meals, look after your family. And then the music goes slowly off key. The narrator's voice changes, and you start to see the screen take on this weird tinge. And then eventually the screen goes red, and you see the tomato plants have mutated into this weird Lovecraftian horror. And it's like, tend your garden, cook your meals, help us grow. Wait, what did you just fucking say? Coming 2026. What? It's so fucking weird.
Well, Jeff opened it up by pitching it as Doki Doki Literature Club meets Silent Hill.
Yeah, that's what it is, and it looks fucking intense. And
that's
just
the kind of
re-download-
weird stuff that Serenity Forge likes to publish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and honestly, like I played Doki Doki for the first time like 2 or 3 years ago, going in completely blind.
I still haven't. I know a couple of the twisty things. I don't know how it all works, but I know a couple of the mindfuck things because it was unavoidable. But
Yeah.
like, I still want to play that because I hear it's so great.
It's really worth your time. If you see it go on sale for less than $20, it's totally worth it. Like this game is something I'm probably going to pick up, and I'm purposefully going to keep myself in the dark until we either get it offered for review or I see it pop up
Yeah.
at like a decent price, because this looks like my jam. If I want a mindfuck Friday to Sunday evening, I think I got it.
Dude, but all we need to do is we need to get you a like avatar or some sort of a VTuber account, and then you could have your own show on Twitch, the Mindfuck Fridays with Birdman.
I would totally do that. I would totally do that.
But the next one that you didn't highlight that was a rehash was new footage for Mio Memories Orbit.
Yeah,
Memories in Orbit.
I've got a review requested for that already.
Yeah, there's a demo out now. That's basically right. what it was.
Nicktoons Dice of Destiny. I was like, oh no, it's a Game Mill game.
It's Game Mill and it's Hades.
Yeah. So
that equals oh no.
Yeah. We had a pair of Lego games revealed, and they're not done by the regular people that do Lego.
Yeah.
So, Lego Voyagers looks. I think it's Annapurna, isn't it?
I think so. Actually.
It's the team that brought Lego Builders.
Okay, so I remember it was a different. Yeah, it was a different team altogether. It looks, again, cozy, but actually looks pretty fun. We can skip Mafia because we already sort of know that Mafia is going to be probably good.
It's Mafia, right?
We have a request in for a review copy of that, so hopefully we'll get our hands on that. Out of Words. This is stop motion claymation style, in the style of Split Fiction and the Hazelight stuff, where it's co-op 2-player, you control at the same time, puzzle solving. Looks cool as shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of a game that I randomly picked up on Switch. It was called something from Separation.
Okay.
And it's very co-op-y, and you're flip-flopping between two characters and or playing multiplayer as two characters in a game, and this one seems like it's using gravity.
Yeah,
as
it had the mechanic. What was that game on the NES? Metal Storm? Or Metal something? Where you could change gravity and cling to the ceiling? It's that sort of thing.
Oh shit! I know exactly the game you're thinking of. Not Air Fortress, but something like that. Yeah.
I think it's Metal Storm or Metal Blast or something. And you're like in a mecha. And it's like a Mega Man game, but you change the gravity. It's that sort of idea.
Yeah.
Meaning the Hollower finally got a release date. And
that game looks phenomenal. That's amazing sprite work.
It's the people that made
Hollow Knight.
Shovel Knight.
That's it. Yeah. So that's
been delayed. This has been delayed 3 years.
They have been in production. As someone who's part of the Kickstarter, they've been hard at work, just chugging through and
because there's a lot more to it than it looks like.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more. Even stuff that they haven't shown in Kickstarter updates and whatnot.
Yeah.
Again, I'm looking forward to it. Hey, cool.
And there's a demo out right now, and it comes out on Halloween.
One game that looks really awesome is that Scott Pilgrim EX. Did not see this coming.
Nope, I don't think anybody did.
And I was
Nope.
actually kind of saying this to the boys off air. Scott Pilgrim, I think, is an idea that works better in video game form than it does in any other medium. As much as the movie, it is what it is, the book and manga stand is what it is, and even the animation has its fans and detractors. Everybody, from what I can tell, and I'm speaking for the entirety of 7 billion people, agree that the video game is fun. And the fact that it brings together Brian Lee O'Malley again as, you know, the writer, you get Anna Managuchi doing the music for this. It once again goes to the mythic land of Toronto, and how you have like 7 different playable characters. And I hope it expands just beyond, you know, Scott's friends and knives. You really want to impress me?
Well,
Let me play as Gideon.
Jeff said it's some of his former enemies.
Yeah, like
So-
I want to play as Matthew Patel and his demon girls. I would love to play as, you know, the vegan guy Todd. Like it could be so very interesting, especially because Scott Pilgrim loves to do the Easter egg thing, and we saw the extended map of Toronto and how you can hide different things in there. Hell, there's even like stuff in the Scott Pilgrim video game I'm still finding out now. So this looks phenomenal. It looks incredibly well animated. I'm hoping Anna Managuchi will bring the soundtrack to this on tour. I had the privilege a number of years ago to see the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack played in its entirety at one of the bars in Toronto, and that is a magical experience. I highly recommend that you do. But yeah, this is going to be awesome. I've bought 2 limited run games in my entire life. One of them is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. If this gets a physical release,
crazy people.
yeah, if we get another physical release for this game, I will buy that.
I don't. What was your other limited run game that you picked up?
Oh shit! What the hell was it?
It wasn't the AVGN one, was it?
No, it wasn't the AVGN one. I want to say, I think it was Star Wars Force Unleashed. I did, or it was one of the Doom ones. I don't know. It's in a closet somewhere. So
yeah, but I remember.
I
remember you were really happy to get this because you're like, I'm getting it. I'm not letting them take it off the store.
Yeah, exactly. You are not taking this from me again. But like just seeing that was unexpected. That was fun.
Yeah. Some of the ones that weren't highlighted by Alex for you, Mike. Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. That is really cool. It is a roguelite, but it's with with like this cast of like 5-6 characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like totally my jam, and it's being published by Bandai Namco.
Yeah, only reason I didn't include that was I want to see more before I determine whether or not I think it, we'll want it.
Am I the only guy who's into the Wu-Tang Clan game?
No, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
I just want to mention that the Lego Party game is basically Mario Party, but not on Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Lego Mario Party.
And then skipping through for new announcements. Infinitesimals. Did you guys see that? That's where you're like fighting bug people fighting in a world of giants, which is basically us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or like Small Soldiers.
It gives off Pikmin vibes.
Yeah, it's like Pikmin meets Starship Troopers.
Yes.
Or something like that. I'm like, all right, that's weird. One of the most bizarre trailers I saw this entire like was the Street Fighter 3 thing with Kenny Omega dressed up as Sea Viper. Didn't see that fucking coming.
Or Ingrid.
Or Ingrid. Like, I was like,
Ingrid
awesome.
was funny. I'm like, oh, you're having fun.
I was having massive flashbacks to the City Hunter movie starring Jackie Chan, where he gets hit in the head in the arcade, and then he ends up in his own mind dressing up as Chun-Li.
Yes. That was wild. I guess the only other thing that really kind of stuck out to me, because I know I want to start to wrap this up here.
The Wu-Tang one for sure.
Yeah, the Wu-Tang one was weird, but hey, you know what? I love it when bands can take themselves not so seriously, but have fun with their music and really explore something like that.
And I will say this briefly because it's going to be our jam. I'm definitely going to get a review copy if I can. Stranger Than Heaven. That's the brand new property.
Yeah.
It's not Yakuza. It's not Yakuza, and it's not Judgment. It's a completely different IP. So
this is basic. Judgment is dead. This is what they're doing now.
They're doing a clean break where it's not going to be connected. Like they're openly saying it's not connected to the traditional Yakuza games. It might have some hints at it, but it looks to be, they called it Project Century. It looks to be that it's taking place over multiple timelines and you're going to be jumping around.
Interesting.
Maybe.
Because they confirmed it was 1910 and then there's 1943 or 42 or 43.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last game that was shown was really the big one, and that's Resident Evil 9 Requiem. And this is important. So to look at the history of Resident Evil, it all started in 1998 in the game's timeline to go to the Arclay Woods where the Spencer Mansion was founded, and obviously with the Ashfords in charge of the T-virus research. And here the trailer starts out with FBI agent, I can't remember the character,
Grace Ashcroft.
Yeah, Grace. Ashford, because I remember hearing that thinking, wait a second. So they talk about them going back to Raccoon City, and you see the remnants of the missile strike when the U.S. government struck down Raccoon City after the events of Resident Evil Nemesis. You see the crater, you see what's left of the RPD, and I'm thinking, that's fascinating. That's like going back to Chernobyl or something.
For the layman, as in me, where I've been too scared to play the games, I've only played a bit of the first game. I know the plot of the first game. I know the
Parts
enemies
of 2
in
and
2 and 3.
Yeah.
Parts of 2 and 3. I have never in my life ever completed any Resident Evil game, so I don't know what the timeline is.
Okay, so super high. I'm just going to explain this to you very, very high level. Resident Evil 2 takes place between 2 and 3, but 3 is the last chronological game that happens in Raccoon City because it gets wiped out. But there are versions where like you go back, or there's like a new outbreak in like a different city in like Raccoon in like Resident Evil 6, but that doesn't really matter. Long story short, the US government ordered a missile strike to contain the T-virus outbreak in Raccoon City on September 29th, 1998, and everybody was presumed dead, and it was deemed a nuclear accident. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, we launched missiles at our own people. So when this girl...
So 8 is more modern day, but not a direct sequel?
It's like a different version because it does tie into Chris Redfield somehow.
Yeah, 8 is kind of a mix between
like a side
sequel
story.
It's a sidequel and a sequel to 7.
And so like 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, they are somewhat chronological in that there's characters that appear.
Yeah, because Resident Evil 4 involves Leon, who was in Resident Evil 2, and it takes place X amount of years later. He rescues the president's daughter, whatever.
So those games, they're basically following survivors in the pathways
after Raccoon
went.
City. Yes.
And then this looks to be a direct sequel to the main line.
Yes, it brings us back. So this would be more sequel to Resident Evil 6, because in Resident Evil 6, Leon's back, Chris is back, Jill's back, and even one of the Birkin's kid, Sherry Birkin, is back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we heard Chris in the trailer for 9.
When he's somebody yelling, right? Like
yeah.
I will say this, like 8 was too scary for me, obviously, just not that I wouldn't be scared. It would look terrifying. I will still watch somebody do a playthrough. Like I would watch you play it, Mike, if you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
But this
I think 7's out of the more recent ones, 7 is the scariest.
7's more claustrophobic. 8 has more guns, but 8 has cooler villains with the big lady.
For sure.
This one intrigued me because it starts out looking more like something Remedy would make, like Alan Wakey style.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And like an Alan Wakey sort of style to it. And then, they show, and at the end they mention that, like, and this is something that Jeff would not read on his own. This is definitely verbatim that he was given, is that they're saying it has a more cinematic action storytelling elements than previous. So it's almost like I think they're taking like the Remedy approach to horror, where there's going to be very claustrophobic, scary stuff, but then there's going to be parts of it that are more of the investigation thing that are not necessarily always in danger. So
Yeah, like
I might want to
really good
jump
deal.
in and actually try it.
Yeah, like Resident Evil's a really good series, and if I was going to be for you, Adam or Alex, go back, play the Resident Evil remakes from the last couple years.
Okay.
Resident Evil 2 is such a fantastic time. Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, it's fun. It's fine.
I own it's either 2 or 3. One of them came with my video card. So I
think-
own one of them.
I think you own 3. I'm almost positive you do.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we both got the same video card, and I think it came with a copy.
Yeah, and 4 is really well done and can be played completely standalone, and it's just a really good game. 5
And also
and
to
6
be fair,
Yeah.
Capcom is having a massive sale that most of the Resident Evil games are 75% off.
Yeah, like it's really worth revisiting the entire franchise. Resident Evil 0 is skippable, but it's got some fun moments in it. The Resident Evil 1 remake from from many years ago that was on the GameCube and has been updated for modern consoles. Fun. Resident Evil 2 is a masterpiece. Resident Evil 3, again, fun, fine. Resident Evil 4, both are masterpieces, but in different ways.
Wasn't there like an on rails game on the Dreamcast?
Yes, there was Survivor, which was also on the PlayStation 1 and 2. There was Gun Survivor 1 and 2. And then there was Resident Evil. I can't remember what it is, but you played different. I think it was called Resident Evil. It wasn't Survivor, where you played different survivors from Raccoon City. And it was just different little side stories.
And then I remember the big, okay, my memory might be wrong, but I remember the big one when I had my Dreamcast. So we're talking 25 years ago.
Code Veronica?
Everybody getting Code Veronica or something?
Yes.
Isn't that the one that people thought that they were going to be remastering next and they just haven't done it yet?
Yeah, that was the big talk for a while, and it's not a bad game. It features a friend of the show, Claire Redfield herself. Her and her brother trying to go to an Antarctic base, which ties into the Ashfords, oddly enough, and genetic manipulation and the T Veronica virus and everything. It is insane, but it is a lot of fun, but it's very much a remnant of the 1990s era Resident Evil before they started to retcon stuff to make it more serious. More survival horror, less survival, as done by John Carpenter and ridiculousness.
Okay. So this looks like this was one of the most impressive things. What's funny was once Capcom was almost able to fool people into not seeing that it was Resident Evil, but for whatever reason, you can always tell when a woman character is in the RE engine.
It's something in the eyes.
Something in the eyes and something in the hair and the way it works. Like I immediately, the vibes I got, I'm like, oh, that character looks like all the women characters in Devil May Cry 5. That's how I could tell. Because if you looked at her boss, the FBI guy, and the rest of the people in the office, it looked like a Remedy game. It didn't look like. But I was like, she kind of seemed to have a place. It's like they have a style that they go for with their women in their engine, and it was like immediately I went, this is Resident Evil. Like, because I had looked away before. Like, I know that if you look really closely, you could see logos on things and you could sort of figure it out. But if you're just sort of like semi paying attention, you wouldn't have been able to tell until they showed her. So, and it's got a date. It's coming out in February, so it's only 7 months away.
Yeah, and I've noticed Resident Evil games, from my experience, when they release in this particular window, they tend to do a little bit better, because I seem to recall Resident Evil 2 released in a February or a very early April, so they can maximize that end of the financial quarter, which in my interpretation means they really believe in this. This should be fairly interesting. I'd be very curious to see what the collector's edition is going to look like for this. And I used to have every single Resident Evil collector's edition for quite some time. I'm not going down that hole again. But I'll be very curious to see what comes out of this. I'm excited for this. Capcom's usually been pretty good with us for giving us review copies for these titles. So looking forward to covering this game closer to its release window.
And that's basically it for the main Summer Games Fest. Again, it was a very B show. Like, there wasn't anything terrible. There wasn't as many garbage games that were being marketed, but there wasn't anything outside of like the RGG Studio game and this at the end. There wasn't anything like phenomenal.
There wasn't anything that made me want to go across the room, grab my credit card, and pre-order now.
Yeah,
there wasn't anything that made me want to just go,
because Resident Evil makes you want to buy it, but you already knew that. There wasn't the surprise like for a second when we were watching that trailer at the end when they're revealing it, before it was revealed to be Resident Evil. Like, they had already sort of teased, it was Resident Evil 30th anniversary.
They had teased it earlier in the show Resident Evil 9.
Yeah.
Give us a little more time to show before we show 9.
Yeah. So
surprise,
I thought
end of show.
Yeah, what I thought was maybe they're teasing, and then Xbox will have the reveal, a few days later. And I thought, like, when this trailer was showing, I was like, okay, it's clearly RE Engine. I was like, are they swerving us? Is this going to be a Dino Crisis game?
See, I'm honestly kind of surprised they haven't done something with that IP. But my guess is if they're going to do something, we'll see a tease at either Jeff's winter holiday shindig, and it's just going to be a dinosaur claw across the screen and an eyeball in a date, or you'll hear something Regina and then a date. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised. The Dino Crisis games are fun. They're stupid, but they're fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm very much with you, Alex. This was a very B tier show. Nothing that really wowed me. Everything I've seen this weekend, if I had to give my top 3 so far, I would say Combat Collection.
Marvel Token.
Yeah, Marvel, and I don't know.
RE.
Yeah, RE. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim. That's it.
You could probably round out everything shown so far 10 games that are worth it, 5 that are musts, and that's about it right now.
Yeah.
Yep. So far.
But yeah, so that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back with more coverage of. There was a bunch of indie shows on the Saturday.
The Indie-pocalypse.
Indie-pocalypse, which again, we're sort of tabulating. We'll go through. It'll be quick when we talk about those. And that'll be probably Ken and myself. And then we have the last of the quote-unquote official major days, which is the Xbox and PC showcases, which, I'm hoping, even if it isn't more like B-tier stuff, then we can still at least say that it was mostly a solid weekend. Because how many times did we cover E3 and it was like F, D tier, and then you'd have like one A tier thing? Nintendo obviously won't have like anything major because they just released the console, but they might still do like something to show off dates for their games that are coming out later in the year, and that might be sometime later on in June. We don't know. And we didn't see anything from Ubisoft at all, but they said they were going to have a presence this weekend. So who knows?
I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't dropped
question mark.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised Ubisoft didn't drop the DLC for Assassin's Creed Shadows Claws of Awaji this weekend. Just maybe something.
Maybe they still will, because like they were not listed as a partner of SGF at all. They said they were going to be at the IGN thing this weekend. I looked at the IGN. I looked at their schedule. They're not listed on the schedule.
But also to mention that they've been in some court stuff right now.
Overseas,
and some not fun stuff is coming out in court documents right now.
So I would suspect that they're not going to have anything to show at Microsoft itself, but they might be at the PC game show, where that was where they would maybe show off something for DLC. Not that like I'm like hoping, but it is surprising. They're the only major company that had nothing. Nintendo was expected to not have anything because they just launched their console, but like there was nothing from them. Square has, some stuff to show off. The talk is they're showing FF9, so that's probably going to be tomorrow or whatever at the Xbox One.
Yeah.
And outside of them, I'm trying to think if there's any major publisher that had no presence at all. that Microsoft hasn't gobbled up. You could say Embracer is basically no more, but there wasn't anything from THQ, like the divisions that do exist. There wasn't anything there, so we'll sort of have to see, because I think at the end of this, when we end up coming together to do, a proper discussion, where I would say for the roundup, maybe we should pick our top 5, and that's what we should mention was great. And if there's anything that we want to talk about that,
I'm going to make one prediction right now. This will be Mike's prediction for whatever the fuck this thing is. There's going to be a surprise shadow drop on the Switch 2 between now and Wednesday, and it's going to be something asked for, not demanded, but wanted. That's my prediction. Surprise shadow drop.
So, and if anybody wants to infer that automatically means it's like Silk Song, I don't know. That could be one of the options. It could be something else that we're not even expecting.
Yeah, for me, it's like wise old Indian is feeling something right now. So and speaking of that, this wise old Indian needs a damn nap. So
yes,
wrap
exactly.
it up.
We're going home, son, and you're going home. I think I'm gonna have to make some notes. So we'll see what's going on.
I'm going to sleep.
That's gonna do it right here for this edition of the Prototype right here on This Week in Geek. Stick around. We'll be back with plenty more coverage, and then hopefully sleep right here at thisweekingeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.